if you don't have a strong personal brand, you will die, metaphorically. But you will not have a business if you don't have a strong personal brand. It is that black and white, in my opinion.
Welcome to Reclaim Your Voice, a podcast for women in business who are ready to lead with more clarity, more ownership, and more confidence in who they already are. I'm Savanna Madden, confidence coach, public speaker, and the founder of award-winning theatre school Madden Theatre Arts. This is not about becoming someone new, it's about returning to your voice and leading in a way that feels aligned. Here we explore confidence, leadership, visibility, business growth, and the real shifts that happen as you evolve. If you know you're capable of more, you're in the right place. This is Reclaim Your Voice. Hello and welcome to Reclaim Your Voice. I am so excited to be joined by an amazing guest today who is an online business strategist, and he's known for helping businesses with launching, creating semi-passive income and recurring revenue. Matt Hall, welcome to the show.
Yay, and the crowd goes wild. Savannah, thank you so much for having me here. I am really excited to dive into this conversation, and I'm really proud of you because obviously we've known each other for a few years now, and just seeing your journey and your commitment and determination. I know you've got a huge background in business and you've been around for years, and then kind of this new era of you now passing that forward and helping other people and really owning your space and owning your experience. I'm just so proud to see it. I'm so excited for everything that you're doing, and I'm honored to be here to share this podcast time together right now. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, Matt, that was so kind and generous of you. Thank you so much. It is my absolute pleasure to have you. And as you say, we've known each other for a little while now, and we've been chatting for quite a while about you coming onto the podcast. So I'm so glad that we've been able to make it happen in this even newer era of my podcasting journey. So for anyone meeting you for the first time, how do you describe what you do now and the role that you play in your business? Tell us.
Yeah, so as you said there, my core thing is helping other business owners with online businesses, but in particular, helping them create semi-passive income and recurring revenue. Ultimately, for those that are maybe not as familiar or clear with those phrases, what we're talking about is helping entrepreneurs that are maybe currently making their revenue or earning their revenue from trading time for that money. In other words, like they might have a full diary of loads of amazing one-to-one clients, but they've basically hit a ceiling. Like, in order to grow, they have to like duplicate themselves to make that money. So what I help people with is creating group programs, courses, memberships, so that you can scale, so that you can still make that impact, but do it on a much wider scale. And the great thing with, for example, a membership, so like with our membership, we do one live Zoom session a week. So whether you have 50 people in there or 500 or 5,000 or 5 million trillion in there, like the time input is still one Zoom call a week. So that's the key thing that I help people do today. With that, there's a whole launch process and there's a lot of like visibility that's a big part of doing launches. So I help people with that. And basically, the reason I help people with it is because it's exactly what I needed. I was that person, this'll be, I can't believe it, Savannah, I feel dead old, but this'll be my 16th year in business since I started my first company, which is still going today. That's a different company. And I learnt everything in business by learning what not to do. I had years and years and years of it being really flipping hard and being really busy, basically. And then when I learned about these other concepts of how there is easier ways to do business, it just completely changed, not just my business, but my life. And that's now the thing that I just love talking about. I talk about it all the flipping time. In fact, someone asked me just before this call, what do you do for hobbies? And I had to think, I was like, I don't really have much. I just do this all the time because I love it so much. So yeah, I love seeing that shift in people when they go from that one-to-one model to being able to understand how to do a more one-to-many model. I just love taking people on that journey.
So your role has evolved a lot over 16 years.
Yes.
Of being in business in the last 12 to 18 months. If people have been following your journey, they'll probably notice that you've evolved hugely. So what would you say that your role requires of you now that it didn't even 2 years ago?
Well, I guess the thing now is I don't have to work with people in a one-to-one capacity. So the role now is a lot more working in group formats. The other thing is now I have more of a team around me. So what I love about the way that I've developed my business now is I've really paused and reflected on what do I love? What do I feel I'm really good at? And then the rest of the stuff, how can I delegate? How can I get support? How can I remove myself from those roles? So the honest answer now is like 90+% of what my role is today is doing the stuff I'm really good at or I really love. What I realized when I was doing a lot of one-to-one work is I was really good at that, but I really cared about my clients. So I would give in all the energy and everything I could within that hour's session or however long the session might be. That session ends and then you're on to the next one and you're doing it again. And then that session ends and you just would constantly feel exhausted from giving, giving, giving. And also you'd feel like you don't have the brain capacity to think about your own business and how to change that and grow that. So I knew, although it was lucrative, although I was good at it, although I was getting, results for people, I knew that just continuing with one-to-one just wasn't going to be the way forward. Now, if I do one-to-ones, which is incredibly rare, I do it because I want to, or there's extra space in the diary, or I just want to help people. I don't do it because I need to. My business no longer relies on it. And that is the fundamental shift now in how I run my business and my role within it.
So, for people listening who maybe are trading a lot of time for money and have a one-to-one business model, or they have a few group programs, but haven't really dipped their toe into thinking about semi-passive or passive income or recurring revenue, what would you say they should do to begin? Where would your sort of starting point be?
So create one offer. Some people might think, oh, I'm going to start a membership and a group program and I'll do an in-person day and I'll do a mastermind, and they have all these ideas. My advice would be create one offer that makes sense for where you're at right now. Generally speaking, for most people, when they've got less of an audience, until you've got thousands of people on your mailing list and things like that are your ideal clients and that are engaged. As a general rule, I don't recommend people starting a membership first. Usually memberships are going to be more lower ticket, and usually to make them profitable, you're going to need a bigger audience to make that work. Now, there is exceptions to the rule, because what you could create is a higher ticket, more premium, exclusive style membership that's maybe hundreds of pounds or even thousands of pounds, and therefore you don't need a huge audience. You just need the right audience. So there is that exception to the rule, but the first step would be focus on one offer, maybe something like a group program, maybe a course, something like that, and really think about how to create an irresistible, no-brainer offer. And the way that we can often do that is, number one, talk to your ideal clients and ask them, what are they struggling with right now? You can survey your audience or literally just get on the phone and have conversations. But number two, take the time to, one of the exercises I get clients to do sometimes is just write down all the current frustrations, challenges, pain points, desires, like what is the things that ideal client really needs help with. And so if you imagine it like a sheet of paper, you'd write that down on the left, and then next to it on the right hand side, to each challenge or desire or whatever, you write, how does my program speak to that or solve that challenge or help them achieve that desire? And just by doing that exercise, that will put you on the right path really to creating what I call a no-brainer irresistible offer. And it takes a bit of time, and like there's loads of things to think about within that. It might be like, for example, with my program, people struggle with tech. So it's like, how can we solve that for them? It might be, they don't have the finances to pay thousands of pounds in one go. Okay, so how can we do a payment plan? So it's like every aspect of it you've got to think about. Create that no-brainer offer. And then it's about leading your audience to a place where they're like, I can't wait for this offer to come out. And that's from like your social media. It's from your visibility strategy. It's about showing up in different places. So there's kind of all strategy around that. And I know if people are hearing that for the first time, it might sound really overwhelming, but my advice to people is take the time to understand this stuff, learn this stuff, get guidance and support around it if you can, because it will absolutely change your business. I think for a lot of people that get into business, they just start the business based on what they know. So what I did, for example, I was a performer and I was in a band. So I was like, the thing that made sense to me at 19 years old as a naive person that was ambitious was, if I could be the manager of this band, there's more opportunity to grow a business and make money than just being a performer in the band. And I think that's really common. You get like hairdressers who think, oh, if I could own my own salon, or personal trainers who then buy a gym. And it just feels like the natural step to create a business. What actually happens for most people is they go, The reality is, this is not the kind of business model I actually want to run. I'm now, in charge of all these staff. I've got all this responsibility. I've got all these overheads. I've got all these stresses. And actually, I'm making less money than I did just being the PT or the hairdresser. And reality is, that's what my business became for me. I was making less money and had more stress, roles, responsibility than just being the performer, gigging. So what I try and help people do now is understand that it might be learning a different way and it might be a whole different skill set, but learning this kind of stuff will set, for most people, it will set you on a path of creating a business model that works for you and your lifestyle versus just, this is all I knew, so I just went with it and it was stressful and it was hell. So yeah, I would just say to people, if you feel like you're constantly trading time for money, if you're constantly busy, if you constantly feel like, it's just never ending stress, learning this stuff will be completely worth its weight in gold, as they say. And yeah, I would just say, take it one step at a time.
We're not even 10 minutes in and we've already got value, actionable tools that we can
Hell
actually
yeah.
go away and do this stuff. That was explained so clearly, Matt, so people can listen, take advantage of the different steps to take, and we can actually go and do this stuff to get to where we need to be in order to have some semi-passive or passive income into our business. Amazing. So the other thing that you're becoming a little bit famous for is launching, isn't it? The launch king is a phrase that I've heard bandied about on the old social media recently. So that has obviously come with the fact that you have had some incredibly successful launches quite recently in like the last sort of year or so. And your visibility has increased hugely too. So I want to talk about that first. So it obviously changes things. So what has surprised you the most about being more visible, being more recognized, and how did you get to that point?
Don't know if anything's surprised me, but what I can say is it makes life so much easier. Business is so much easier. Right now, building a personal brand, in my opinion, is not a nice to have. It's imperative. It's a must have. If you want to make money online, if you want to stay relevant in an age where artificial intelligence is pumping out lots of fake stuff online, and as a byproduct of that, people are struggling to trust what is real and what isn't, and what to invest in and what not to invest in. The only antidote to that is you having a strong personal brand, which includes in the real world as well as online. So it's being seen at events, it's being seen on stages, getting to retreats or whatever it is that's, right for your industry. You have got to build that personal brand. You've got to get visible. You've got to get known. I actually think we're in a really interesting time right now where, truthfully, I think it's become really hard to sell actually at the moment because of the trust recession that we're in. You might have heard people speaking about it as this, like coined this phrase, trust recession, because people have been burned and people have invested in things that haven't got results. And then because there's AI now where people think they don't need to pay for people because AI just does things for free or, pretty low cost and things like that. It is really tough at the moment. I love that because what it means is you've got to build resilience now. You've got to get really good. You've got to care more. You've got to work harder than ever before. And what that means is there's a mutual friend we have, Ross Grant. He says a phrase that makes me laugh all the time, which is people are going to fold like cheap chairs. The people that haven't got that, it's mad and I love it. But the people that don't have that resilience and that are not the real deal, that really want to build a business, they're going to be gone. They won't be here in 12 months. The people that are right? The people that are charlatans that just knew how to market well and create hype and good marketing material and then not deliver, they're going to be gone. And what we're going to be left with is the absolute warriors that stuck this out, that constantly looked at how do I find that edge? How do I improve? How do I be better? How do I give more? That's what's going to be left. And what that means is not only do the people who deserve to make great money now be the people making it, but also the industry as a whole. And what I mean by industry is the online kind of space when it becomes to like, teaching online and courses online and mentoring and coaching, is the overall standard is going to raise, which means trust is going to raise again. And that's what I'm excited for. So we're in a really tricky part, I believe, at the moment. This is the hard bit. Those that have the grit determination to see through it are going to absolutely dominate and win. Everybody else is going to be out. And I don't know what they'll do. I don't know where the world's going to go. I don't think anyone can predict it at the moment, whether they get a job or I don't know. I actually don't know whether there'll be jobs. Who knows? But what I do know is those that stick out this next 12 months will put themselves in a really good position. But the core of that is building a personal brand. And I've banged on about this for nearly 7 years, but now it's not a case of banging on about it because I can see the potential in it. It's now, if you don't have a strong personal brand, you will die. Metaphorically, not in, no one's going to be
Sure.
killed. Just to be clear. But you will not have a business if you don't have a strong personal brand. It is that black and white, in my opinion. So I have built that. I have got that. And being more known and being more visible, it just makes making money much easier. It makes collaboration opportunities much easier. It means getting on stage is much easier. Like, everything is easier when you have a credible, strong, and well-known. And by the way, when I say well-known, I'm not saying like super famous. I just mean like famous to a few, like famous within your niche and in your
Niche.
industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything
I was going to
just
say niche famous.
niche famous. Yes, I'm very niche famous. But that's exactly right. So then to bring that to kind of launching, yeah, and to your point of like being branded the launch king, which I don't know if I am, but I'll absolutely take that. I love it. When you have an offer like a course or a group program or a membership, one of the best ways to make great sales is to not just put it out there and just do a post on social media and go, "Oh, I've got a membership. Please, would you come and buy it?" You want to launch it, and you want to launch it with impact. You want to get people excited and intrigued by it. And so what I teach people to do, and it's not like a new formula, it's been around for a while now, is create a free launch event. So this is where we do like a free masterclass, a webinar, or a multiple day challenge, or a workshop, or a summit, something where people have the opportunity to work with you without paying anything. They get a try before they buy experience. And that is the thing that I would say over this last 18 months, I've obsessed with. Like, I think I've just about been on everybody's launch that ever it happened and existed. I have like literally been a student of launching, what's been great, what's not been great, why, what works for us, and just constant testing and tweaking. We know that people that sign up to your free event, in terms of then a conversion of how many of them convert into buy-in, the industry average is usually between 1% to 8%. So just knowing that information will then help you work back your strategy of, right, well, how many people do I need to know me to then sign up to the challenge to then convert to that 1 to 8%. And that's something I go through with people, is actually understanding the strategy behind it and the general conversions and things like that, so that you can be strategic rather than just do a launch and then nobody shows up and you go, why didn't it work? You know, we can actually break it down. But yeah, the average is around 1 to 8%. So you can expect whenever you launch something, around about 5% of people might buy from people that show up to that free launch event. We, on average, of our last few launches, get around 12%, so way above average, because we've learned how to do it really well. And if I was to give like one simple tip of what we do better than most people, is we just care more. That's it. Most people, when you go to their free event, in my experience, what I've witnessed is the whole thing is just a sales pitch disguised as giving value. And actually, the value is minimal and it's surface level. And it's just a lot of them saying how great they are and what they've achieved. And just like this client that I had who made this and this client who did this. And it's just all a big sales pitch designed to get you hyped, excited, and then wanting to work with them. A lot of mentors will say to people, teach them the what and the why, but gatekeep the how. They have to pay you to do that. We don't do that. And when I work with clients, as you know, I say to people, like, our intention with our free launch event is not just about sales. It's about any person that has invested their most valuable asset, which is their time with us. Our objective is we want them to leave that going, that was a really good investment of my time. I got something from that. I'm glad I did that. That was great, whether they bought from us or not. And like the default setting when you think like that is more people are going to want to work with you because they can see it's authentic. They can see you genuinely know your stuff. You genuinely care. And one of the most common phrases people say to me is, Matt, you're just so refreshing. And actually, I'm not doing anything like mad. I'm just really caring about my audience, and whether they work with me or not, I want results for them. So that's the thing I would get everybody to reflect on. In this time right now where there is a trust recession, you need to be better. You need to give more, do more, and you need to create more reasons for people to trust you.
Oh, hallelujah. There are
Hallelujah.
so many things that I want to pick up on that you have just said. Absolutely amazing. And from being somebody that actually was in your latest launch for your membership, which I'm already a member of, but I still came to the 3-day challenge because guess what? I learnt loads of new stuff that weren't anything to do with any of the paid things that I'm
Right.
currently with, right? So there were hundreds of people in that challenge group. And obviously, I don't know your numbers, but I could see that lots of people were still coming back for day 3 when statistics usually say that people do
Mm.
drop off after day 1, day 2, and I know you had loads of people live on the final masterclass and everything. And it was just because there was so much value and you are just yourself all the time. Especially, you're also the king of doing funny voices. It's like
Uh,
another one of your trademarks, isn't it? Just coming up with
apparently,
all the different things.
do you know, I was with Ross last night for dinner, and he went, "You do this thing, and your voice goes high pitch." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "I'll do it for you next time you do it." And I'm waiting for that impression. But yeah, apparently I do funny voices. I don't even know what that thing is.
Yeah, I won't do an impression, but yeah, you sort of scrunch your nose at the
Do
same
it,
time
do
as
it,
well.
do
There
the
we go. No,
impression.
no, I
Try.
can't.
I
I've got
want
all in.
somebody to do it. Okay, you can do it after.
So, okay, we'll do it off camera. Um, so yeah, it is. It's literally just the being yourself is the value that you give, and I have lost count of the amount of times I've been told about the whole give them the what and the I can't even remember the
Mm.
saying, but don't give them the how. They have to buy the how, as it were. You charge for the how. And I'm of the same school of thought as you of just give it all away for free. Like you're doing here on this podcast, because then people are like, oh yeah, that sounds really good. I'll do that, or I'd like to try that. And then you might then get paid for the services at a later date, or you might not, but you've built a really good relationship with that person.
And that's what I care about so much more. Like going forward, I'm like, I just want to sleep well at night knowing I'm doing my best. It's
Yeah.
not just about money for me. And if people never work with me, but they go, that guy's a good guy and he was great, I didn't want to work with him, whatever, that means more to me than just people paying me. And the other thing I
Hmm.
think that we've just all got to remember about the what, the why, and the how thing is nothing you're going to say is unique. There's nothing you can say, you or I can say, or anyone can say that is not readily available on ChatGPT, Google, YouTube, podcasts. Like it's all out there for people.
Hmm.
So you're not clever by gatekeeping a few sentences because they can just ask ChatGPT, hey, he didn't tell me this bit. Can you tell me it? So we've got to understand that information is not value anymore because anybody can get information. And as Tony Robbins says anyway, like knowledge is not power, it's potential power. It's what you do with the knowledge that gives it power. But the thing that we've got to remember as educators, teachers, mentors, coaches, is the power comes from having support, having that person they can reach out to that will give them bespoke guidance. It's having accountability, it's community, it's being around other people on a similar journey. Like they're the things that people are going to invest in a world where AI gives them the answers. So I just want to really hone in on that point. There's no value in hiding back information anyway, so you may as well give them as much as you can within the time frame that you're with them.
Totally. And that's another great reason to get to events so that people can see you in real life, and people will soon see between the lines if in person you're completely different to how you show up online with all the different things you're writing if you're not showing up so much in video form. So yeah, very interesting times we are in. But I want to move on, Matt, we've talked quite a lot about launching and passive income and all that sort of stuff. But I want to talk a bit more about you. And you shared publicly quite recently that you had a cognitive health assessment and you got the results live on your podcast. And you were told that if you continued, at the pace you were going, it could impact your executive functioning and other various things. You can obviously go back and listen to it. But you are a man in your 30s, so you're very young. So I would love to know if you'd like to share what that moment taught you about how you were living, how you were showing up and running your business, and how did it affect you when you found out those results?
So I think I teach people to work in seasons. And I think on some level, when you're building a business, you're going to have to work really bloody hard. Even if you're avoiding the years of hardship that I had, which was having years without a proper mentor and without a proper strategy and just figuring it out and making loads of mistakes. Even with the best mentoring, you still got to put in a lot of work. on my show, I think we've done nearly 270 episodes of Success School, which is my podcast. And I've had the privilege of interviewing some incredibly successful people in all different fields, all different levels. I have never, ever, ever sat with somebody who's super successful that went, oh, I just got here by having a life of balance. I didn't make any sacrifices. I didn't work hard, like ever. It just doesn't exist. So we've got to be realistic. And I think to say anything less to people is dishonest. There's going to be seasons in your life where you work really flipping hard if you want those bigger results. And if you don't, then you probably don't have to work as hard. And that's cool too. So I don't regret anything. I think everything I've done has taught me a lot and it's led me to where I am, which is I'm really grateful for the place I'm in today with my businesses, with my life, with my circumstances. I'm super grateful. But there was this like niggle in the back of my mind that I'd been learning about health for years. I had the privilege of my cousin is really big on health. Dan, he's really into his fitness. And from being 15, I was training with him in the gym and learning about nutrition and all this stuff. It's been a big part of my life. And I think it's a little bit like, it's kind of like how I imagine it to be if you're a smoker. Like, this is killing you. Like, this is a really bad thing to do, but you kind of just convince yourself you're all right. You don't, you know what I mean? And I think there was an element of that because my business was taking off so much and I was getting wild amounts of success that 15 years in, I was like, I've never been bringing in this kind of revenue or having this kind of impact. And I was like, and I'm working harder than I've ever worked, actually, but it's working. So I've got to just lean into it. There's that little niggle at the back. It's like, oh, but probably you're not getting enough sleep and you're not training as much as you were or whatever. So when Natalie McKenzie, the cognitive strategist, came on my show and gave me these test results, it was just that kind of moment of going, stop waiting to prioritize this, because every day you don't prioritize your health, you're at risk. And that it's as simple as that. I was like, today I need to make some changes, because I think the scariest thing that she spoke about was that she believes we're heading into an epidemic of Alzheimer's because our current lifestyles, like we're under more stress and pressure, people are struggling with mental health, attention spans are shorter than ever. We're now relying on ChatGPT to think for us, so we're not using our brains properly. We're more underslept than ever. Our nutrition's not great. And this compound effect of all these lifestyle choices that have just become the norm, she believes we're heading to an absolute epidemic of Alzheimer's. And the scary thing she said is symptoms don't necessarily show up until 20 years after you've got it. And that was all I needed to hear to go, wow, like who knows the damage I'm doing? And actually a big thought of mine, I think a lot, rightly or wrongly, I don't know how good this is, but I think a lot about dying. I think a lot about how short life is. And actually that's one of the things that really fuels me to get the most out of every week and every day and things like that. But I was like, what is the point if I get to 50 and I can't remember my own name? And I was like, that's a very real possibility. And I want to be around till 100 plus. And I want to be around to 100 plus with a good mind and good energy and feeling good. So it just gave me that, right, we are like, as I talk now, you can, if you're watching on video, I've got a Whoop on that's tracking my sleep and all that kind of stuff. And sleep now is the foundation for everything. I mean, last night I got over 8 hours. A few nights before I got 10
Lucky.
hours. 2 nights. Not lucky, intentional. And I also want to say you have the beautiful joy of being a parent, which I don't have.
We
And
will come on to that. Don't worry.
yeah, I'm also very, very, very aware that when I'm lucky enough, and I really hope I will be a parent one day, I'm also aware that there's other priorities and it will not be as easy to be this good, but it is still possible. And that is my thing. Like, nothing is more important than your health, and prioritizing. I'm not talking about perfection. Nobody's going to be perfect, but really making it a priority now, it's a must for me. And that's from nutrition. And we can go down, which, I won't bore people with it, but years ago I did a bodybuilding competition and that taught me a lot about what health isn't. And I think a lot of us, when we talk about health and fitness, what a lot of us mean is, how can I aesthetically look good, in my swimwear costume or whatever, or on Instagram? We're not actually talking about health. and fitness. A lot of our goals are just about physique. And actually, for me today, it really is about health. How do I fuel my brain every day with the nutrition, monitoring stress levels, with sleep? It's really being intentional about those lifestyle choices now. And I feel like I'm operating on a different level now. And so that's the byproduct is I'm better in my business anyway. I'm sharper, I'm more energized, I'm more alert because I'm putting those basics right in the first place.
I was just going to ask you what have you implemented and what results are you seeing? So it's obviously being really mindful of your sleep, your nutrition. I believe you're not drinking alcohol at the moment as well. Is that right?
Correct, yeah. So
Hmm.
I stopped drinking alcohol on the 26th of December. And I said then I'm not like going to be this kind of one way or another, I'm teetotal. It's not like an identity piece for me. It's just like that's another thing. And I was never a big drinker anyway, but it was just like it's another thing that's not great for us. So that was 26th of December, obviously, where we are now. I had, for full transparency, I had 2 alcoholic drinks recently when I went on a date with a woman, and I didn't want it to be weird. I just wanted us to have a drink and it just be a cool thing. And I fancied it, so it's not like I've got
Yeah.
this big thing of I'm a non-drinker. But aside from those 2 drinks on that one night, it's been a few months now of I just don't do it. And I've been to many social events where people are drinking and I've had those like non-alcohol alternatives and it's been great. And it's the best feeling the next day going, I've got 0 headache. I don't feel groggy. And honestly, I don't think alcohol will have much of a place in my life ever again. It might be the odd drink here, the odd drink there, and that will be it.
Love that. So good. You feel because of these changes that you've implemented that you're just functioning better, you're in a higher vibration, higher frequency, more energized. What's not to like about that, huh?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that you mentioned earlier when I made the little comment about being lucky about getting more sleep because you know that I
Yeah.
have a 2-year-old, and also the fact that you've been on a date recently. I saw a comment that you made on a Facebook post a little while ago, and
God,
I was like,
what have
"Oh,
I said?
don't." I know, gosh, no, it's absolutely fine. It was a really interesting post that somebody had put on, and it had loads of engagement and loads of different opinions, and it was really good read. And basically, what it was talking about, it was a woman that posted it, and she was talking about being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, being a parent, a wife or a partner, and having a team, and just, all of the things that women, lots of people have to juggle if they have a family. And sometimes you have to make certain work sacrifices, rooms that you just cannot be in because you need to be with your children, or that's your choice, or moments that you don't spend with your family because you're working, whatever that looks like.
Mm.
And this is not a moment for me to throw shade at anybody. It's just whatever your situation is. And of course, a lot of women commented saying, oh gosh, yes, I so feel that. I think I even commented on it as well and said, yeah, I really relate to this, really well put sort of thing. And I noticed that you commented on it and said, because a lot of people were saying that men don't have the same struggles. And I think your comment was along the lines of, because I didn't write it down, so I don't have it here verbatim, but it was along the lines of, I'm a single male business owner here, and I would love to have the opportunity to have a family and a family life to juggle with children. And I thought that was a really nice moment to share that. And I thought it was really open and honest of you. How does that affect you day to day? Does it affect you day to day? Is it something that you think about on a regular basis, or is it something that kind of crops up every now and again when you're in certain aspects of your work life?
Yeah, so I feel really at peace with where I'm at in my life. There's one side of me that I would love to be a parent, and I've always been that kind of relationship person. So I was in a relationship for nearly 7 years with the woman that I thought I was going to marry and have children with, and that didn't work out. And since then, I've had relationships that have been some beautiful relationships with beautiful people, and I'm really grateful for. They've not worked out. And this last, I don't know how long, year or so, I've dated a few people, but I've predominantly just been single. And there was a period of time where I was like, oh my gosh, my time is running out to be a parent and to still be a youthful, energized parent. And I really want that. I love being in a relationship, which is loving and sharing a life with somebody and building together. And I think I started coming to terms with maybe you might not be a parent and maybe you might not find that person. And do you know what, Savannah? I've just let all that go and I've just gone, I really freaking love my life. I am open. I am hopeful. I think it's very easy when you stack up this long list of ex-partners and you've been wronged and you've been lied to and cheated on and disappointed by people, and you can stack up all these things. And I think there's a big narrative out there, which I hate, which is you get these echo chambers online, which is men dissing women and then equally women being really horrible about men and being really toxic about men, about, we don't need men and they're useless anyway. And like these really horrible narratives that exist on both ends and on all genders kind of getting in echo chambers. And I think that's awful. And there's also loads of great people. And it's so easy to go, I'm nearly 35 and I've had all these things with, women say this, but actually look at what women have done to me. And I've had this woman and, I could go down that and I'm just like, no, like, I just still believe in people. I still believe that there's possibility out there to meet the most incredible person and have the most incredible relationship and journey together. And maybe it's not happening right now, and that's okay too, because with or without a relationship, I'm really happy with me and I'm really happy with my life. And, I haven't always been at this place, but that is a real strong sense of how I feel today. And so I'm kind of like, I'm really open to it and I'd really like it. And if it doesn't happen, I'm equally really happy with my life. And that's kind of where I'm at. And to your other point about the post, because I think it's important for us to touch about, because I saw, it was Lisa Johnson who put that out, wasn't it? About saying like, stop comparing yourself. Like your journey in business will look very different to somebody else's journey. If you're a mum and you're married and you have 3 children and you have a full-time job and you're trying to build a business, comparing yourself to a single guy, that has no children, that is visible and everywhere, is not the best of comparisons to make. So I've got like 2 points I want to make on this. The first point is this. That was an epic, important, super needed post, because we've all got to check ourselves and recognize our circumstances are different, and comparing ourselves in that way does nothing but harm us. Like your journey is unique. As long as you're doing the best you can with what you've got, and, screw comparing how much money you're making or your timeline, because I've done that for years and I've done all that and I've gone, oh, I'm useless as a podcaster because stop. Like, just stop. We've all got our versions of that where we can compare. That's only damaging us. It's not inspirational because they're on their journey with their circumstances and it's different to you. So I think that was such an important point. And the thing that I really loved about it is it made people breathe and go, it's okay to recognize my journey is my journey and I don't have to compare to anybody else. The flip side, though, I'm going to take another angle. What I hate about the potential of those posts is people now lean into excuses. And what I want to be as a person is, for me, as a lad from Bradford, humble beginnings, mum a mobile hairdresser, dad a firefighter, nobody in my family has a business or is entrepreneurial. I still spent last week in LA with people that have businesses that are doing hundreds of millions, feeling like a complete imposter, feeling totally out of my comfort zone, going, do you know what? I still deserve a place at this table and it's still possible for me, irrespective of my upbringing, irrespective of where I live in the world or what my circumstances are. And I really want to champion that. And my point that I'm making here is, yes, respect your journey. Be realistic about where you are right now, your roles, responsibilities, your priorities, and make sure your strategy fits that. And at the same time, please don't hold yourself back, because Lisa, who wrote that post, built her business, which, by the way, has done 22 million in the last 7 years, whilst being a single parent, bringing up twins on her own and having a job at the same time, and had another business and so on. So the flip side is, it is possible, and if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way. And I don't want that voice to get lost, because we are, as human beings, as creatures that we are, we do want to avoid pain. And if there is an easier route, or we can let ourselves off the hook, we will do that. And in doing so, we'll potentially rob ourselves of the potential of a really beautiful outcome and a beautiful life. So there's kind of 2 angles I want to take on that. One, yes, don't compare. Your journey's unique and nobody's going through what you're going through in quite the same way. And on the other side, if you want to achieve whatever you want to achieve, it is possible and you can do it if you work hard enough.
Comparison is the thief of joy, and don't let yourself off the hook. I love
Or I could have
it.
just said that and we could have all gone home much sooner.
Absolutely not. I loved so many of the points that you raised there. And I think as well, what was so great about that post is when you were saying everyone just went, yeah, is that loads of people felt really seen and really validated as well. And there were lots of very, very successful people commenting on that post too. Lots of names that I recognized. So I just think that it's important to share those kinds of
Yeah,
opinions because then people feel a lot less alone. And as we all know, sometimes building a business can be a little bit of a lonely place.
right.
So you kind of touched on it a little bit there, but you obviously have built this incredible business, Matt. You have increased your visibility by probably about 100% recently. And you come across as that you're, a super confident, outgoing, bubbly, down to earth man. But are there moments, or have there been moments where you have had sort of confidence wobbles, or you've not really felt like you're in the, I put this in inverted commas, in the right rooms, or that you
Mm.
didn't have a seat at the table, those kind of, have you experienced those kind of feelings?
Yeah, bloody loads. And we all do, right, in different ways. So the thing that I want to say about that is when you put yourself out there publicly, when you strive to do something that's not the norm, like building a business or building a personal brand and being judged and things like that, it's going to be tough. You're going to have people mocking you, judging you, criticizing you, telling you not to do it. I think I've spent a lot of my life always feeling like an in-betweener. I'm either working with clients that kind of look up to what I've done and want to learn from me, or I'm like with my team that look to me for the answers, or I'm in rooms where people feel to be 20 steps ahead of me and I'm not successful enough. And it's like you always feel like you don't fit in to some degree. And I'm sure there'll be people that resonate with that listening. So to your point about like it can be lonely and all that kind of stuff, I get it. The best piece of advice I can give to anybody is if you want to feel that less, you've got to just go through it and do more of it. So at this stage now, years into being online every single day, being constantly uncomfortable in rooms or doing things that scare me, like my first event that I put on or the first time I spoke on a stage, or like all these things just compounded over and over and over and over. Eventually, you do just get to a place where you're so much more resilient and self assured, where you can step into most rooms and be pretty okay. I still get nervous sometimes, but so much less than I ever did. And there's no, in my opinion, you can do mindset work, therapy, counseling. There's all this great stuff, and you should. Like, I'm a massive advocate of all that stuff, and it can all play its part. And for some people, that might be the biggest thing. For others, it might not. But for me, in my experience, the biggest thing that will help you shift your identity, change, your how you feel about yourself, your confidence, your self-worth, your self-belief, your pride, all these things comes at the end of consistently doing things that are uncomfortable and being persistent with that. Not going and speaking on your first stage and going, oh my God, our crap. Oh, I hated it. I'll never do it again. Going like I did last year, and I'll be really transparent, going on stage, feeling like you were crap, speaking to Helen who works with me and just saying, I hated that. I was rubbish. I was absolutely, and she was like, Matt, you was great. I was like, I wasn't. That was not my best work. And then going on another stage and having the exact same feelings and going, I was crap again. I hated that. And honestly, people won't know that. But a lot of the times, if you saw me speaking last year, I came off and just said to Helen, I hated that. That was awful. I never want to do it again. But guess what? I did it again and I did it again and I did it again and I did it again. And just recently, I did one of my biggest stages. I spoke at Expert Empires, which was, speakers on there included like Fern Cotton and Eddie Abu and things like that. So I was up there with some high caliber speakers, and it was the most comfortable, confident, and happiest I've ever felt on a stage. Now, I wouldn't have got there had I have quit last year 2 or 3 talks in and said, this is awful. I feel so anxious. I feel so stressed. I'm beating myself up. It would have been really easy to quit, but I pushed through that pain threshold. And that's my advice I would say to anyone listening is you've got to do stuff for long enough, and it will be uncomfortable for a lot of that, to come through the other side where you get to a point where you go, I do know my stuff. I can do this. I am actually all right. And I do feel comfortable doing it. And usually to get to that point takes longer than you think it's going to take. And because it takes longer, people just stop and quit. And let me tell you now, there's one way of guaranteeing failure, and that's stopping. If you don't stop, you just might succeed. And so that's my whole ethos is I just don't stop. The reason I'm here 16 years later in business is not because it's been easy and I just made loads of money. It's because I just didn't give myself a backup plan. I've never, ever quit. And that's why today I feel comfortable in my business. Today I have great opportunities. Today I have a strong personal brand. The biggest reason, the number one reason, is not because I'm brilliant or talented or any more special or whatever. It's just because I never stopped doing it. And that alone has been the biggest contributor to what I am today.
Oh, Matt, amazing. Thank you so much. Right, we're about to wrap things up now. So if we want to connect with you or hang out with you a little bit more, where can we find you? Where are you hanging out the most?
Come and hang out on Instagram. That is my main one. Just give us a cheeky little follow. Slide into the DMs. My handle is at Matt Hall Official. You'll remember that, just officially me. Come and find me. I know it's really cheesy. By the way, I came up with that years ago when I was a performer and I thought I was something special and now it's well embarrassing, but we stuck with it. So yeah, Matt Hall Official. And I always say when I'm on shows like this, do drop me a message. Like, I think it's easy with podcasts. You just listen passively or while you're driving or in the gym and you forget that the person you're listening to is a real person, that there might be opportunities. And I'm not just saying like buy my stuff. It might be there's collaboration opportunities. It might be, like I have a membership that you might be a good fit to speak to my members. And, there's all ways we might be able to support or work together or help each other or just become friends. So I would say if you've found anything I've said today resonates or is of interest, please do A, follow me, but B, just drop me a message. Just say, Matt, listen to you on Savanna's show. Would be nice to connect and it'd be lovely to hear from you.
Lovely. And can we see you in person at any events this year?
Well, Savanna, thank you for asking. Yes, you bloody can. So the big one is obviously my event, which I know you've been a huge supporter of over the years. You were literally there at our very first one. And I think, was that the one where you were heavily pregnant as well and you
I
travelled?
was. I was 36
Unbelievable.
weeks. Yeah, I was 36 weeks pregnant and I live a 3-hour drive from Manchester. So I drove up in the morning, evented hard, and then drove back that evening for 3 hours.
Nobody listening has got any excuse to not be there now. Honestly, I just remember shouting you out and just being like, I think I remember saying it was a bit where everyone was up dancing. I was like, not you, Savanna, sit down. I don't want you
There
to
was
give
me
birth.
jumping away. And as it
Yeah.
happened, my son was so overdue that I didn't give birth for like another 6 weeks or something outrageous.
Wow.
So yeah, it's all
Wow.
good. Anyway, tell us more about your event.
Yeah, so that was I mean, you've been a massive supporter of these events and what we've really tried to do is learn every event, and this will be our 6th one. We've consistently looked at how can we make this more impactful. It's not just a case of just better. It's how can it actually help people in their business more. I've been to loads of events myself. I also have another business which is an entertainment business which deals with live events. So I've been around the event space for a long, long time. And with our events, we really want to make sure that yes, people enjoy it. Yes, they get value. Yes, it's a good experience. Yes, we think about attention to details, but most importantly, that it actually gets them results. It actually has a positive impact on what they're doing in their business. So this event is the 13th and the 14th of April. It's the first time we've done it as a 2-day event. It's called Business Mastery Live in Leeds. It's at the incredible Queen's Hotel, which is just the most beautiful venue. It's literally attached to Leeds train station, so it's the easiest venue to get to ever. 2 days. We've got incredible speakers, which includes Daniel Priestley, which a lot of people will know of him. Incredible author of Oversubscribed, Key Person of Influence. He's also the founder of Score App, absolutely huge business. Just an incredible business person, and I just love his mind, and he's going to be doing a 90-minute keynote, so he's going to really be giving. He's also going to be there for anyone that buys a platinum ticket, which is like there's an exclusive dinner with a smaller group of people. He's going to be at that dinner, so you get to actually properly meet him and chat to him if you do that. But yeah, we've got him, we've got Scott Thomas. People might know the Thomas brothers. There's Ryan Thomas, Adam Thomas. They're hilarious. I'll bloody love them. And Scott, I would say, is the one who's more the sensible, spiritual one. He was on Love Island years ago. So he's going to be there. We've got Lisa Johnson, who we referenced earlier. Just amazing, amazing speakers. But the thing I do want to say to people is it's not just an event where you're constantly just going to be spoken at for 2 days. There's going to be space to think, to reflect, to connect with other people in the room. There's going to be around about 500 people attending this event. So just think of the opportunity in that room for genuine connection and networking. And there'll be people in that room that are doing multiple millions. There'll be people that are right at the beginning of the journey, and there'll be people every step in between. So it's going to be a really beautiful room with great energy. But as I say, real space to think, to reflect, to connect, to collaborate, and also to get things done whilst you're there in the room, so that you don't just leave the 2 days with pages of notes which now overwhelm you and then nothing happens. We really want to encourage people to do stuff there and then, so they leave with results. So if you'd like to come to that, we would love you to get your tickets. I'm sure we can put the link somewhere, can't we? Whether it be in the show notes or whatever. Yeah,
We
get your
can.
tickets
We
and
can
we'll
put it
see
in
you
the
there.
show notes.
Great.
Thank you so much, Matt. That has been incredible. So much to take away, so many tools, so many things that we can actually action. And, like you just said, not pages and pages of notes, stuff we can actually do. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Reclaim Your Voice. If today's conversation resonated, then head to the show notes where you'll find my free audio gift. And if this episode helped you in any way, it would mean so much if you shared it, rated or reviewed the show. That support helps these conversations reach the people who really need them. You can also watch the full episode on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.